code together. Oh, now I'm live. Okay, so let's start again. Um, my name is Lance. I'm a senior software engineering instructor at Flatiron School, and I'm happy to be here today with you to start a new project for our Let's Code Together series. So, as some of you may know, on Bletchley, there's a new theme coming up for the upcoming month, which is nature, things having to do with nature. That we have a series of mastery quest challenges that you can engage with that are all centered around different themes having to do with the environment and nature. And you can check it out all on Bletchley and find out about it. But in that spirit, the project that I would like to build over the next few weeks is a solar power estimator for people who are thinking about installing solar panels on their house. And we're starting really from scratch today. I've got a few ideas, but you're going to be coming along with me on the planning, a little bit of the planning, as well as getting into the actual build process. We will start building today, but there's a little bit of planning to go first, and I'll just talk you through as we go along. Um, all I need to do is start presenting my screen. Share screen. Is it going to let me choose which screen? I hope so. An entire screen. We want to share this one. All right. Awesome. Looks good. All right. So as you can see, I am still kind of enamored of Next.js and Create Next.js because I'm not done exploring this Vercel's site called v0.dev. And they have some new features from the last time I did it, although I've on my free plan, I've already used up like all my messages unless I upgrade my plan on this freemium. It's just enough to get my whistle wet, as it were. And but let's start with the data set that I found. So I found this very cool service called Soulcast, and they serve up different kinds of data to help company like solar installation companies, and also um, you know residential owners, and different types of users can use their data to help do estimates for different types of solar installations. Some might be small, some might be a really huge solar installation, and so they've got forecasts for all of it. One type is for just irradiation and weather forecasts at a particular location. Some is an estimate of the rooftop power that might be projected, right? So we can put in the capacity in kilowatts. We can put in an azimuth, which means like the direction uh, on the compass direction that the solar array would be facing in, the tilt, things like that. Um, Install date is it helps them calculate degradation of the system. So if it was installed like 5 years ago, they're going to actually, knock off a few, like a little bit um, of efficiency factor. They're going to calculate an efficiency factor based on how old the install is. So yeah, so I was like, this is great. This is gives us a lot to work with in terms of creating a solar estimator or a solar calculator. So I've got my API key. I'm ready to go. We're able to test things out. Let me go big with this. Makes it a little bit easier, and then I can slide right over to Postman. So um, if any of you are familiar with working with APIs, testing APIs, I'm sure you know this great API client app called Postman. There are others out there that I also like, but this this particular data set had an export to Postman um, feature. So I just took advantage of it. And once you put in some of these variables, like your API base, a latitude, a longitude, which I've set up in an environment here, then you can just test out all these different. Ooh, we don't need this. Say, okay. Where FIS demos? Oh, maybe I'll do this later. I'll do this. Okay, don't save the changes. Cool. So now all of our tabs all have to do with this site. This is where you set up the environment. Don't look at my key. Okay. And then you can use any of these environment variables to put into your requests, right? Let's see, I was checking out different parameters. Here are different parameters you can add. Of course, a latitude and longitude. The period is how long of a historic look. You can do two things. You can do forecasts, so you can look forward, or they have historic data, so you can kind of look backwards to get some idea of how things might perform. I think I want to use more of the forecast um, functionality. Seems that's something people might want to use. Boy, it doesn't, I'm not sure where I want to save this stuff. So I'll just keep opening tabs, I guess. So here's a forecast over a month time um, for something at a given latitude and longitude, right? Over 24 hours, right? So this is the JSON output. They have other formats like CSV, which is comma separated values. So we talked about this on our Summer Olympics project. We had a CSV file from a Google Sheet document that we then were able to use as the basis for creating a database. This can give us the data in various formats. I'm thinking that another thing I'd like to try if we have time this month on this project is to incorporate some natural language kind of requests using AI, using OpenAI, and also using a process called RAG, probably going to a platform called DataStax. Um, and so that might be the basis of our data set that then we could query the data set in various ways using OpenAI and get some natural kind of prompt it and get some in natural language and get back some interesting responses that way. So I was very happy that this gives some other options for a format. The response format can be JSON or comma separated values at CSV. So that's something very exciting. But this is a response on solar, the power output based on the different parameters we provide. There's also, here's get irradiance. They also give a forecast for air temperature, DNI, which means direct natural irradiance, right? And GHI, which is global horizontal irradiance. I am not an expert on solar power. I've just started looking this stuff up, what it might mean. So I don't know if those numbers are quite as useful to, say, like a homeowner, someone who is wanting to do some research, just figuring out whether solar might be right for them. Um, One thing I do think we could enter, since on this other one, we're going to get projected power output based on the size of the array, right? We could ask the homeowner to put in their average power rate, right? Because I'm thinking about, I live in an area, I'm in Seattle, where they have net metering for solar, so you get credit back for power you put into the grid from your solar. So you can, if you know, like your um, you know the average cost per kilowatt, right, you can get a really accurate estimate of like how much money you might save on your electrical bill. So that might be another thing that we can do with this data. Great. Let's oh, this is not it here. Um, let's look at some other things that I was using to do in my research. I think we've settled on that. Let's see. Um, so once I knew the kind of data I was going to use, I went to V0, and I don't think we're done with this. We're going to probably use it some more. And let's go back to the chat that I've had so far, and I'll walk you through my process that I've done so far, right? So I so this is a new interface to work with this website, is in this chat format where it's more like Chat GPT if you've used it, but it's really focused on um, generating like front ends for websites, especially in the next framework, the next JS framework, using React. You know, usually server-side rendering if you're in the next environment, and of course, Vercel is also the owner of this tool, and they're also the people who brought us Next.js, right? So it kind of makes sense that it's all integrated. So let's walk through. I can show you kind of the first outputs that it gave me, right? So it's able to kind of generate based on my prompts. I said, oh, I want to do a site for homeowners that are installing solar panels. We're going to geocode their address to get a latitude and longitude. So what are the kind of inputs that the user might have, and um, what kind of outputs we want to show back to them, right? So here it says it's going to create a form to collect these things. And then it talks about other things that I would need to do to really make this project, right? Implement the backend API. Well, because it didn't know what kind of API, but I have a great API, right? How about the geocoding part? Well, that is probably, I'm thinking about using another library called Mapbox.js, and they have their own API for geocoding, which is great. If you're not familiar with the concept of geocoding, right? It's that there's a huge database that has latitude and longitude values uh, that are linked to particular addresses, right? Or even if it's like a famous place like a national park. So we're all used to using this in like map applications such as Google Maps, where you just type in the search field, you say, here's the address, or you might just say, I'm going to a popular landmark, like where is the Empire State Building, and I want to look up where is the Empire State Building. And what happens is when you type that in the search field, it gets sent to a geocoder service, which is going to link that address to all of this GPS data on where exactly is that, but where's the latitude, where's the longitude, things like that. Because for the mapping to be accurate, it needs that latitude and longitude information, right? So there's also reverse geocoding, where you can like put in the latitude and longitude and get back like the address or what is close to that location, right? Um, these kind of services are also really great when you um, have a particular location on the map and you want to know what is within a certain radius from that location, right? Or you put in a zip code, right? Then the geocoder can, based on that point, find other points and other like businesses or services or monuments or landmarks that are in a certain radius from that point. So that's also another great application of geocoding. Um, let's see. It says I'll need to do some error handling and validation on the front end and the back end. Well, that's great. We're not going to build out too much back end for this one. We've all the data's on there. We could have ability to create user accounts, but I think we can actually accomplish a lot. Um, as long as the user's not trying to like create a user account. We can still give a lot of useful like utility and functionality to a user without them even having to log in and stuff. Another thing we could incorporate, I just thought of this, is even if they're not creating a user account, we could have a button to kind of download. There are libraries that will take data from your app and then format it into like a PDF or some kind of format that is downloadable. So we could actually incorporate some download button, be like, oh, do you like, is this, is our report useful? Then click here to download and it'll just download onto their computer. That's something that they could use, right? So that's something else I'm thinking about. Make it responsive. That's a good idea. Do more detailed results, monthly breakdowns, visualizations. Well, we're going to get to that. Okay. I told them I don't really want to be tied up with TypeScript in this one. I want to just do regular JSX. I mean JSX instead of TypeScript. So then it showed me a JSX version of the same thing. So here's all the code. Um, I said I might want to use Mapbox. Now, at this point, it got interesting. Um, it generated code that uses the Mapbox. I said, oh, it might be nice to have an interactive map and use their geocoder, right? And it says, great idea. It generated the code, but their preview is not able to handle it because the preview doesn't have access to this, I guess, some of the Mapbox library at this point or something like that. So, but this could be useful to us for when we want to put in a map. All right. It tells us how to install the dependencies that we'll need, which is great. I see. No, that was a wasted regen. I said, hey, let's add some colors that are gonna, make this pop a little bit. Um, that might be associated with a solar project. So, and then it came back with this for the style. Love it. Looks great, right? Um, is it responsive? Ooh, and it's already a little bit responsive. Looks like maybe there's some Flexbox in there. But I know the styling already is Tailwind, which we saw with the last project. So we're going to be dealing with Tailwind as well. Um, let's see. How far did I get? I said, something about this API. As long as I'm doing it on the free level, it's only going to give a limited number of requests based on a particular address. But for testing purposes, they do. Let me show you uh, their documentation. They do have a set of unmetered locations that you can make unlimited requests about, right? So Sydney Opera House, Grand Canyon, Stonehenge. Notice they're all, you know, wonders of the world. I don't know. Well, except not these last two, Fort Peck, Goodwin Creek. Don't know about those. But so my thought was, as we're making this, we might hit the limit, right, and not be able to make custom requests anymore. So I said, what if there was an option to choose? Oh, where is this polar estimator here? Drop down pre-designated, right? And the AI, look what it came up with. Have some radio buttons, make a choice. Either you can choose a preset location from a drop down. Of course, ours are going to be the pyramids at Giza, the Grand Canyon, those ones that are offered, right? We'll have to put those in, right? Or a custom address. And then if a person tries to do a custom address, or if we get some message from the API that the limit has been hit, some kind of error message, we could disable this as an option and kind of force people just to the preset locations. Not ideal. Something we could, like, if I opted, I could check the payment options on the API and see what we come up with. But I figured that would handle that eventuality, right? Um, let's see. Now I said, this is great for the inputs, but what about the outputs? And I uploaded a little snippet of the JSON, right? And it gave us this, which is looks great. It's like, here's a new component for displaying the results, right? It gives a 24-hour period. It actually shows the kind of the waxing and waning of the power output. This is to be expected. It's like 4:30 a.m. There's no zero power output during that time, but it shows the peak. It shows the falling off, right? Um, Production hours. How many hours are is it actually in production during a day? What's the total power output if you add up over the day, right? I think this looks great. I was thinking there we could even go for some other things because I know we can alter the length of time. Like this is just one day, right? But we could say, with our forecast, give us a whole year. I think we could get a whole year, right? Or we could ask the user to input a particular month, and then we could have some kind of a chart where they could actually check um, days of the month, different like over a month's time. How might that vary or something like that, or maybe a year's time? We'll have to look at the data a little bit more. This is using some library it told me about. Right now, it's putting in a mock API response because it doesn't know in the details of the endpoints of the API, how to request. So it just is taking my data and putting it. We can see, right? This is all the data from that I gave in the JSON example, and it converted it into an array of JavaScript objects that then it can use to calculate with where I'm trying to see where. Oh, recharts is the library that is using to create that great chart down at the bottom, right? And I'm imagining there's some props that we would pass into like a rechart component. Let's see, line chart, line, these are all different components being used. Line chart, data, forecast data. Yeah, see, all we have to do is, have that format, pass it all in, and it's able to um, plot it all out for us. So um, that is going to be great. But now the problem is I'm not quite done uh, with my AI assisted planning, but I only have one message remaining today. So I'm going to ask, how can I export these components to an existing project, next project? Because that is something that you could do in the previous interface that they had. Is very easily, it would give you the code for like taking a generated component and importing it uh, into your existing project, which is awesome. Oh my goodness. This is not as easy as the other version of the tool. All right. So I'm wondering, this is the other thing I want to test, and then we'll get into actually implementing some of this. But I'm very curious about like what the possibilities are. So this is under my plan. You can go back to the previous version. You can also decide what you want to default to. Um, right. And if I look under here, I do still have the history of like some other um, UI I've generated through here. Partly was for the Paris Olympics, right? So I don't think this has as much of a limitation as the other one did. Let's see. We can pick a theme. Let's go with something. Oh, daylight. Let's try the daylight theme for this. And we'll say again, um, let's see, generate a dashboard for a solar estimator site, which will get input from a homeowner address or pre-existing location from list, right? And also compass direction. I don't want a homeowner to have to try to figure out the azimuth of their right, like the compass direction of this. I'm gonna um, do some kind of a mapper object or something in my constants that will um, you know take, or maybe I'll just like from the drop down I could assign the values would be the right azimuth. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. Um, compass direction of installation location, um, capacity of solar array in kilowatts, kW, right? Okay. Let's see what this version comes up with for us. Totally different interface, more theming options here. Enter your address, compass direction, get estimate. Pretty bare bones so far. Is it done? I think it's done. Let's take a look at this version. I'm liking this better, right? I still am not liking it quite as much as the other version that the chat gave. To do address, compass direction, enter capacity, solar potential results. So this is showing the results right on the same page. That's an interesting idea because I was thinking, well, it could still be its own component, but I was thinking of actually routing to a different page for the results. These are great ideas, right? Why go solar? Okay. Let's take a look at this version. Select direction. Here, give the address. I think the other one forgot to put an input in for the address. It hasn't yet figured out estimated solar energy production per year, estimated cost per year. Right. These are kind of like ideas of the AI. I think to do this kind of cost savings, there also have to be an input for like your current electricity cost per kilowatt hour or something like that. To this is a cool thing to estimate. It's we wouldn't have that from the data we've got, but we could probably figure it out. Um, let's see. Any of these themes look better? This has green, and this is a green project. Pastels. Let's look at this one in pastels. Okay. Let's look at this one with that emerald theme. So this is already like I like this interface a little bit better, right? You still have the option of like doing new versions from prompts, right? It's just not quite as conversational as the chat, right? Um, in fact, let's try. And then the other thing I like, if we look at the code, this is the command to import this to an existing project, which is what I was talking about, right? It also already generated some other code that we'll need to get the styling to work. Here's the CSS for this particular rendering of the site. Here is what we put in the layout file. This is an important file in a next project, right? So it's already kind of added some configuration here that we would need. Because we're using Tailwind, we also need to configure Tailwind with this file, and it has given us what we need here. So um, I'm just liking this still more than the other version. Let's think of which layout is more appealing, and then let's iterate on it a little bit, and then we'll get into the code. Okay. Um, Solar estimator, compass direction, needs an address. This is nice and clean layout. This is nice, clean way to show the results. It also has estimated savings, annual CO2 offset. Not bad ideas. We'll have to figure out how to calculate those. Then there's this layout. This, this is even more visually appealing. I think this is more appealing. We could try this with this one with a different color theme if we want, like emerald. No, not I don't it's not as good with emerald, I don't think. What were we on? We were on like pastel or deep sea. Yeah, deep sea, it's I kind of like dark themes in general, but for this it's not. I don't think it does it. I think it's this one. We'll go with this. We can make other tweaks, of course, as we go as we go along. We can get into the CSS file and play around with some of the colors and things like that. Let's see. I want to iterate on this by saying uh, add a radio selection to choose between either inputting an address or choosing a preset location from a dropdown. Let's see what we get for this. Not exactly. It does have the input for the address now. Use current location. Ooh, that's not a bad idea actually, but it doesn't switch this input to a drop down. That's okay. We can still go back and look at the other one and incorporate that. So I still like this. Create a related component for displaying results, which includes a graph. Let's see, what does this do for us? Pick and edit. We'll have to check that out too. Here's an example of the available data. And now I'm just posting in a bunch of JSON, forecast, it looks like it kind of truncated, but let's see what it can come up with based on that. Oh, okay. Solar energy production forecast. It just put it down here, but we could separate it out as its own component. It just kind of inserted data in there. This is a little less accurate than the other one. We might go back and look at the other one. Okay, cool. One other thing, I want to see if this one can handle the Mapbox integration. Add an interactive map from Mapbox GL that will allow location selection or geocode that will geocode the address. Let's see what that. Components UI, I'm looking to see any map box coming in here. Evo line, Did it add that? Solar estimate map. That's interesting. It knew, I think it kind of knew that it couldn't render something from the Mapbox library. So it's just giving me this like area that I could insert. Here's border radius, What is, where does this say? Time series chart, line chart, solar estimate map. It just created this, okay, this div for it. All right. I think we're ready to get going. All right. If you're not familiar with Next, here are the docs for Next. And we're going to start out our project exactly like this. Create Next app at latest, project name, options. What are some options? Let's take a look. Add TS if you want it to be TypeScript. You can turn off ESLint, output the version number, help for all options, initialize with Tailwind CS config. That's the default, so we don't need to do that. Initialize with ESLint config. Oh, I guess we would need to add that. Initialize as an app router project. Yeah, I think we do want to use their router. Initialize inside a source directory, not as important. Explicitly tell CLI to bootstrap using npm, use pnpm, use yarn. No. Example, bootstrap example, reset, skip install. All right. So this will run us through a bunch of prompts. Maybe we'll just do that. We'll just, no, app router, yes. Yeah, we could do that. We could just, instead of using the options, we'll just go through the prompts. Okay. So let me go to my, let's skip through that. How do we get, okay. What? Bye-bye. Let's see. All right. Here, this is warp. This is my terminal. Okay. So where I've created this directory for this project. So let's do, was it npx create next app at latest? Oh, it's remembering my previous one, but create next app at latest, right? And let's call this one solar estimator. And I'll also label it Bletchley, because here we are for doing Bletchley. Okay. And then it should, oh, I'm on the wrong node version. We'll fix that. Okay. It needs to install. Yes, go ahead. No TypeScript. ESLint, yes. Tailwind CSS, yes. Source directory, no, don't need it. App router, yes. Customize the default import alias, no. That didn't have as many prompts as we were seeing. But it's nice it's installing these dependencies for us. Tailwind CSS, Post CSS, our linter. Great. Let's take a look, see what we've got. Solar estimator. So let's cd into solar estimator Bletchley. Take a look around here. Right now, it has its own Git history already. It's been initialized as a Git project, which is good. We'll just have to create a repo on GitHub that we can push this up to. Okay, JSON config, nice config, node modules. This is all looking great. Let's open it up. Okay, code dot, open up this directory right here. Let's go big with it right now. Okay. Let's see, npm run dev to get it started. Oh, so this is just a blank one. We haven't yet imported our component yet. So just out of the box, we've got here's our layout, right? And here's the first page that's going to render. I think if we want to use routing, we have to put these in a directory called pages. So we might not end up using this at all. Here's public. Right here, where's this tailwind config, right? It's just all very boilerplate at this point. So let's do the next bit of magic of going back to V0. Okay, and we'll go ahead and try this import. We're going to have to do these ones by hand, make these changes. I think, is global CSS also globals CSS? Yeah, these are already existing here. We're just going to have to make those changes to the code. So let's go down to here. Yeah, and just to import this, let's do this. Oh, I need, okay. npx vo at latest init. Okay, so let me first change my my node version. So I have node version manager list, right? Where should we go with? I have some 20 versions. I have latest stable iron. We might as well. Let's do nvm use iron. All right. So that shouldn't be an issue anymore. And then this was telling us we need to, um, like VO has an NPM V0 has an NPM um, package, and we can use the init method from that. So npx v0 at latest init. So we're gonna, did I spell latest wrong? That, oh, I did npm, npx, right? V0 at latest init. I think this should give us a better response. Oh, look at it already writing components, installing dependencies. You can now start adding components. Oh, so now what? It made a bunch of changes in my Tailwind config, even without bringing in that component. That's kind of interesting. Um, we now have a components directory. It also created that. Made some changes in globals too. Interesting to know. Okay, and what was our command? Let's see. I guess I can just arrow up. There's the unique identifier for that. What should we name the component? Well, if we really want it to be our landing page, I think we should call it index. Do I need to put the .jsx on it? Well, do I want that to be the name of the component? I want it to be the name of the file. But I think we want to call it dashboard, and then I could change the file name if I need to. I'm not sure what the convention is here with next. Following the instructions under the code tab, right? Yeah, it's telling us that if we want it to look like the the preview we got, we are not done. We've got to go back to the code tab, right? But let's look at what we got in components. We have components dashboard JSX, okay? So what's going to happen is if we decide to use routing, which I think I do, like that chart, I would maybe want to be on a different page eventually. But we'll go with this for now. Did it update layout at all? Root layout children, children. I don't know if this still going to render default home. Would I need to render dashboard as a child of home? Let's take a look. So this is going to tell us, if we look at package JSON, we have our scripts, all these dependencies. Now, I kind of like the graph from the chat version better. So we might be changing some of these. I wasn't as excited about the graph that we got. But if we do npm run dev, we'll see what we've got. npm run dev, npm run dev, which is actually going to start up the next server. We're on 3000. So let's see, if we go back, let's get a new window for this. No, we don't need to see that. Okay. But I'll go down to my browser. We'll create a new window. We will put it up next to the other window, our VS Code there. Okay. We'll go to localhost 3000 and see what we're getting. Localhost 3000. Right. We're getting that template page first of all. Let's go here and say, let's look at routing. Routing app dashboard. So they have a dashboard, route analytics setting to do for their example. So how would this be organized? We've got app, we've got pages, right? So they have app dash each folder in a root corresponding segment in the URL path. Unique UI of around loading UI not found error. Okay. Component hierarchy layout.js to do error to do page.js or nested layout.js layout to do page. Right. So this is what's rendering page right now is from the layout settings. So we have dashboard, layout.js is here. Each of these has a layout.js. Interesting. Errors, loading, JS, layout. Okay. This looks different than how I've done it before. Pages, defining routes. Okay. Well, I guess we could try this. The root is app. We'll do dashboard. We'll move. Do we need to move our components within that? It looks like. Then they're each one's called just page.js. This is very different. Let's see. Error handling, route groups, project organization. Inside of route segments, app. Here's components, lib, constants, dashboard, page, nav. Okay. API, route.js. All right, let's give some of this a try. We have private folders. Okay, very cool. So what I'm getting from that is there's app. App has a layout. We can create another directory under app called dashboard. Okay. I guess components, it looked like components can still be in its own directory, right? Okay. And then we can still use these in other places for the UI parts. But then let's dashboard. Do I just need to call it page.js? Under this, it looks like that. Okay, so let's do that. Let's move this into dashboard. Let's change it to its name to page.js. Let's see if that's enough that if I do this / dashboard for my client-side route, is it going to change what's rendering? No. Or yes? No? Okay. Okay, oops. What about app/dashboard? Nope, that was a big nope. Why? Okay. I think the default export is not a React component in page dashboard. Oh, the default export. Let's see. Here's our page. Here's our component called dashboard. Is it exported? Oh, function line chart. It does say export, but it's not default, and there's more than one component. Maybe that's the issue here. Okay, cool. This is looking better. The compiler is happier, and look what we got. Cool, right? But, we don't have all that styling. Oh, we're almost at time. I see that we are almost at time. Well, I think we're well on our way. We've got kind of a plan for going from here. I will find out more about routing in the meantime with Next.js. Um, the next thing is to get all of the styling that the AI gave us. Let's see, where is that? Not here. It's here. A dashboard here, right? Get some of those colors incorporated. So we've got to copy in this and this and this, and then we'll see what we've got rendering for our project. Once again, as I've done with the other projects, I will very shortly here be creating a GitHub repo for this project, pushing up all of the code that we've written today into that repo. Okay. And I'll be using branches to mark the different days. So this will be like week 1. I'll create a branch for it, and then you can follow along as we keep building this out. I'll put a link on Bletchley. There's a channel for software learning, right? So go to the software learning channel, and you will find a link to the repo with the code that goes along with this broadcast, with this live stream. So thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next week at the same time here on our Bletchley stream. My name again is Lance, and it's been really fun exploring AI generated front end with you today.